and refocusing on their weight loss journey, which means that people are going to be looking more for nutrition coaches, boot camps, fitness coaches, etc. So you'll hear me reintroduce myself multiple times. If you're not already following me on social media, make sure that you follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, mostly on Facebook because my Facebook group, if you're not already in there, you should definitely be in there. I go live every single week talking about macros and mindset. Um, so, first, I want to ask you, especially if you're watching the replay, what are your biggest struggles when it comes to um, the weekend? Drop that in the chat and let me make sure that I'm completely set up. Y'all bear with me for a second. Think about your weekends. Think about how you eat differently on the weekends versus during the week. And let me know what you think your biggest issue is when it comes to weekend eating. Let me know. Public. Okay. Cool. Hey, Instagram. I never come live on Instagram. I got to show my Instagram people some more love. Thanks for watching. So, weekend eating, I'm going to give you some strategies of how to think about it, but I'm also going to give you some strategies, some tangible strategies that you can use in terms of like what to put on your plate. So, first, let me give y'all a few announcements. Okay. First of all, okay, if you have not been to the Fit Figure Formula store yet, I have merch available and it's cute, y'all. I went to the gym the other day with my little fanny pack and a hoodie I think I had on. And so if you haven't checked out the store, you can go to the show notes. You can go to my link in bio on Instagram and Facebook, and you can check out the store. There are sweatshirts, t-shirts, tank tops, magnets, sweat towels, all the things. And if y'all want to see anything in particular, let me know because some of those things I was not going to create, but I got some feedback from my audience and I'm like, all right, so I put it out there. Go to the show notes or the link in my bio in Facebook or Instagram and check out the link. And so you can check out the store, y'all. I'm so excited about that. So that's one announcement. If you haven't been to the Fit Figure Formula merch store, you definitely want to check that out. Two, obviously, the podcast is back. And I have some very special guests coming up that I want to make sure that I mention. So for all my PCOS ladies, I got something for you. I have a PCOS expert coming. I think we're going to be doing that on January 6th. So the podcast episode might not be out at that time, but that's when we're going to be recording. So if you're in my Facebook group, you actually get that first. So that's going to be really, really exciting. Also, a time management coach. I'm going to be interviewing her soon after that. So if you are, again, not plugged into my Facebook group, you want to join that. Last announcement that I will say before I get into strategies regarding weekend eating is if you're joining the Fit Figure Formula, on or before January 1st, you're getting 4 additional weeks with me. So I want you to think about the reason why you would wait until January 1st. I went to the gym yesterday and I was so underwhelmed. I was like, oh, I was expecting people to be in there. I don't know why, but like the regulars were in there. Don't wait until January 1st. Okay. I want you, even if it's a day before, and I think what's today? Today's 31st. Yeah. Make sure that you're making that commitment. If you're waiting for this arbitrary first day of the year, that's the same mindset that keeps you stopping February 1st. It keeps you stopping on the weekends. It keeps you stopping when you have vacation or your birthday's coming up, right? So I just want you to make sure that you're making that commitment. You can go to the show notes. You can go to the link in my bio and book your call. This is a no pressure call where we decide whether or not the Fit Figure Formula is the right next best step for you. And join the formula, you'll get an additional 4 weeks, which means that you'll have at least 20 weeks with me to have a registered dietitian looking at your food every single week, to have strength-based workouts, to be able to have community support and be able to transform your mindset. So I just had a client tell me, if you're on my Facebook group, you can see the screenshot. And she said, I am a different woman. And literally, she is a different woman. She sounds different. She talks different. She is setting boundaries. She understands her nutrition. She does not need my help calculating her macros or hitting her macros when she's planning her food. She's lost weight, she's lost inches, and she feels amazing. And I'm so proud of her. This could be you. So if you are curious, if you're interested, if you've been waiting around, now's the time. You'll be able to get that additional 4 weeks. That ends on the 2nd. Okay. So make sure that you apply if you're interested in joining me inside the formula. All right. So if y'all have questions, y'all drop them in the chat. And let me actually check the chat. Okay, cool. All right, ladies. So let's get into this. So when we're talking about weekend eating, part of what I'm seeing is that there are social events. We eat out a little bit more on the weekends. We are drinking alcohol. We have less structure. There might be some emotional eating because we're just like, whew, okay, stressful week at work. And now I need to rest and relax. And resting and relaxing just means like being mindless with your meals. And then this reward mentality. I've worked hard all week. And now I just want to rest. Now I just want to not have to be intentional. I don't want to think about it. I just want to kind of feel my feelings and then eat whatever I want, right? And this psychological or all or nothing mindset is what keeps you inconsistent, and it also keeps you from losing weight because it's going to knock you out of your calorie deficit. I was just coaching a client last night in the formula, and we were talking about the way that she was talking about, I was doing so well, I was being good all week, versus the mentality that I want you to develop is more strategic. Whenever I have my clients plan their meals, we're not just planning all clean, all vegan, all organic food all week. We're strategically putting in your sweets. This particular client likes crunchy, salty. So you're strategically putting that in throughout the week because you're not saving up for the weekend, or you don't feel like you have to be perfect all week. This mentality, when we think that we have to be restrictive or perfect through the weekend or through the week, actually does the opposite of what we think it's going to do, because on the weekend, we tend to have less structure and then we eat whatever we want because we have been restricting ourselves. And willpower is not a good way to eat well. It's not a good way to develop habits. It's not a good way to develop a healthy lifestyle. Okay. So if you are relying on your willpower to decrease your sugar, to avoid, habits that are not going to help you reach your goals, your willpower is going to fail. So we got to get more strategic and more intentional about using other strategies because willpower is not enough. Okay. So we have that psychological aspect where we're thinking like our weekends are unstructured and we just want to reward ourselves. We tend to overeat and we're probably not moving as much as we do on the weekdays. So we have this combination of eating too many calories and not moving enough. Now, I will say this as well. Sometimes we think, well, I don't eat a lot on the weekends. Maybe I only eat once or twice a day, but you're eating out, and eating out is always going to have more calories. So you may not necessarily be eating a lot of volume, but you still are probably eating too many calories if you're not being strategic, even though you feel like the volume is not a lot. Okay. So we really have to shift our mindset around the weekends. We have to change the narrative that weekends are cheat days and incorporate our treats throughout the week more. So that's number one. We have to have that mindset shift. That is going to help you be more consistent and focus less on being perfect throughout the week, but spreading out the treats, your sugar, etc., throughout the weekday. And the thing is, once you join the formula and you actually see the numbers and you learn how to evaluate whether or not your treat is going to fit in for the day, it'll be a lot easier for you to say to make that decision. Yes, I have enough calories to fit in this ice cream or this alcohol or whatever, or I need to rearrange some stuff so that I can fit it in. Understanding your nutrition is going to be a game changer, because a lot of you guys are just cutting out a mealtime, but you still have no idea what you're eating during your feeding window. You have no idea. And so you still need to be knowledgeable about your nutrition, which is why I love teaching clients the macros. Because once you know this, you know it and you can't unlearn it. Okay, so we have to reframe that weekends are an opportunity for us to have some non-food fun. One of the things that I do inside the formula, on Fridays, we have a form inside of my private coaching app. This app is a blueprint that will help you to track your progress, but also to help you track your progress, but also it tells you exactly what to do every single day. And on Fridays, there's a form in there that says, let's think through your weekend. This is so simple, but most people don't do this unless they're inside the Fit Figure formula. So what the form does is it helps you think through your weekend. What am I planning on doing this weekend? Am I going to be home? Am I going to be out shopping? Am I traveling over the weekend? What are the things that I know that I need to put in place to be successful? How am I going to set myself up for success? What non-food activities have I planned or do I have in my schedule? Because a lot of times, a lot of what we're doing is focused around food and what we're going to eat. And I want you to enjoy your food. I do. But I also want you to think about, how am I enjoying myself? How am I relaxing? How am I de-stressing without this reward of food? Because a lot of us are so stressed out throughout the week. We treat our weekends as a way to de-stress, and that means just eating whatever I want. But we can de-stress in non-food ways as well. So I want you to think about that. How am I connecting with my loved ones? How am I resting? How am I doing something fun that's just for me? How am I creating some alone time? Because I might need that, right? So thinking about your weekends as more of an opportunity to focus on non-food activities and kind of breaking this cycle of binging on the weekends and then restricting during the week. Okay, y'all let me know if this is making sense. Let me know in the chat if this is making sense. All right. Let me keep going. So we're shifting our mindset around what the weekends look like, right? So that in and of itself is going to help you be more centered and be more focused, because you're thinking through this before it happens. Now, sometimes when my clients miss this on Fridays and they don't complete it, and then they go back and try to complete it on Monday, and I'm like, well, the weekend has passed. If you find yourself not being intentional over the weekend, and you're like, yeah, I way overdid it, then I would take a look on Monday and say, okay, what went well over the weekend? What did not go well? And then how would I like to troubleshoot for the next weekend that comes up? I just went through this process with a client like an hour ago. That reflection is really important, because this roadblock comes up every single week, right? You can make decisions ahead of time. Something that I coached another client on last night was this idea of hoping versus deciding, okay? Y'all will hope to make better choices, or hope to get a workout in, or hope to, hopefully I'll do my meal prep. And I'm like, why are we hoping? Why are we hoping instead of just deciding and like making that decision? Make the decision. Don't throw your power away and Act as if it's someone else's responsibility or duty to make the decision of whether or not you're eating well or moving well on the weekends. You get to decide that. So for some of you, that means like on that Friday, I got to think, how am I going to set boundaries? Because I'm going to be with people who are on a different journey. And how am I going to set boundaries so that I can protect my health behaviors during this season? And you got to think through that. And then you got to practice setting boundaries and being okay with your boundaries so that you can be confident when you set them with others. This is something that we also work on inside of the formula is setting boundaries. How can I have some boundary setting statements in the back of my pocket and pull them out and be like, hey, this is my boundary. This is what I'm doing to take care of myself right now during this season and feel confident about that. Okay. So think about what is it that you need to do in order to show up and be proud of yourself on the weekends. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you're always restricting yourself or you're not participating or you're not eating the cake for a birthday. It doesn't mean that you're not indulging in a treat. It just means that you're doing it strategically and you've made the decision, yeah, I'm going to a birthday party. I'm going to have a piece of cake and some alcohol. But you're not doing that in the moment and making that decision just because you feel like you have no control or you have no choice. You can decide that ahead of time. So when you go out to eat on the weekends, you can decide, I know that I'm not going to feel good about having an appetizer, a drink, my entree, and a dessert. Way too many calories. Let me think about where we're going for this outing. Let me think about what are the most important things for me to have on my plate so that I can still enjoy myself. But then what are the things that I really don't need and I can decide now that I'm not going to indulge in? That is a powerful position to be in versus being caught up in people pleasing and just eating because other people are eating, drinking because other people are drinking, or feeling like I don't have any control and I don't have any control when they put the bread on the table. I don't have any willpower, right? Because that willpower, again, is going to fail you. Okay. So there are strategies that we can use. And one of the things that I tell y'all all the time, I've said this a million times, is when I go out to eat, a lot of times I like to put half of my food in a to-go plate immediately. And this works really well for a lot of my clients as well. If you know that you're probably just going to keep eating that whole plate of food, even if you're full because it's there, putting it in a to-go plate immediately is really, really helpful. Okay. That's something that you can decide on Friday before the weekend. Okay. So we have to be planning ahead and creating a flexible plan for the weekend. A lot of people will say, I don't have any structure on the weekends. And the reason why you don't have any structure on the weekends is just because you haven't created any structure on the weekends. But guess whose responsibility it is to create that structure on the weekends? That structure does not have to look like your weekday structure, right? It doesn't have to be rigid. It can be flexible. You can still have lots of freedom in that, but there is some kind of plan that you can follow that makes you feel proud and helps you reach your goals. Okay. So you need to set some realistic expectations in terms of not focusing on being perfect and compromise. So maybe I'm going to have one drink and maybe I'm going to skip the dessert, right? Or maybe I'll have an appetizer and my entree. Or maybe I'm just having the entree. Maybe I am not having this huge thing of strawberry lemonade. Maybe I'm having water instead, and I'm just eating my entree. That can also be empowering. You don't always have to have like all the plates, but I think it's also important to like check in with yourself. Here's what I tell my clients to do. You're not looking for hunger. I promise you, if you look for hunger, you're going to find it. So I'm like, okay, when you check in with yourself, you're eating mindfully, you're with your plate, you're paying attention to your hunger cues, your fullness cues, and you're looking for satisfaction. I want you to look for, when am I satisfied and I can just put my fork down, ask the waitress to take the plate. If you're looking for satisfaction, you'll find it. If you're looking for hunger, you're going to find that too. Okay. So don't get swept up in what's happening at the table and just keep shoving the fork in your mouth. It is important for me to say, okay, this is like that relationship with yourself. How am I feeling? Am I satisfied? And if so, then I can be done, even if everyone else is eating, right? That might make some of you feel a little bit weird or awkward, but at the end of the day, when someone puts a plate of food on your in front of you, it's to satisfy you, not so that you can eat everything that's on the plate. So I just did an episode about the Clean Plate Club, and I had a guest speaker come and talk about why we do this. Why do we feel like we have to put or eat everything that's on our plate? So check out that episode if you missed that episode of the podcast. So we're being mindful. We're planning ahead. We are strategically adding in treats throughout the week so that we're not leaving them up to the weekends. We're creating a structure for ourselves that may look different from your weekday structure, and that's okay. You are making some compromises with yourself. Maybe you're skipping the alcoholic drink and you're having dessert instead, or vice versa. And there's really no like right or wrong answer. It's just like you making the decision, not hoping that you're going to do well, that you're going to make wise choices, not hoping, but actually deciding ahead of time. Also, I want you to focus more on the things that you can control. So, yes, you might have a busy weekend. You might have company over. You might be traveling. And you can allow that to make you throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, this weekend is a wash. Versus asking yourself, what is it that I can control? If I'm going to be traveling, maybe I have a late flight. Can I have a great breakfast? I can still have what I call our formula breakfast, which is just like a balanced plate. I can still do that. I can still drink water if I'm traveling. I want you to focus more on what you can control based on your schedule, based on what you know you normally do. What are the things that I can still incorporate, even if I'm having a busy weekend, even if I'm traveling over the weekend, even if my schedule is a little bit different over the weekend? And incorporating like movement, taking a walk in the morning, or if you're on vacation, taking like a new class in a new city. Maybe you're doing Pilates, or maybe you're, going for a bike ride, in a new city or whatever. Like, you can think about how you can incorporate movement into your lifestyle. And this is going to help you feel more satisfied. It can help you to decrease the insulin spikes. So one of the things that happens when we do eat a lot of carbs is that we just want more carbs. And let's say you're going to have a heavy carb meal. Take a walk before or after, right? Or do a workout before or after, so that you're utilizing that blood sugar, and that response isn't so impactful, because your muscles need to use that because you're doing work either before or after. Okay. You can also still be mindful whenever you sit down to eat. A really good exercise is like taking photos of your food anytime you sit down to eat, and pay attention to your portion size. Go back and look at those photos and say, oh, wait, if the appropriate size of protein is about the same size and thickness as my palm, look at those pictures and see, is that about what I'm having when I'm eating? I can still be mindful. I can still put my fork down. I can still check in with myself. I can still drink water in between bites. I'm not just scarfing the food down. I can still eat on some sort of schedule. I see a lot of this happen a lot. You guys get to the end of the day and you're starving because you haven't eaten. And you think, oh, I'm addicted to sugar, or I just have these sugar cravings in the evening. No, you just haven't eaten all day and you're hungry. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't have a sugar addiction. You're not eating enough protein or total calories, and your body is screaming at you by the evening time to eat something. And our body's quickest way to get energy is carbohydrates. So that's what it's going to tell you to eat. But I have this happen all the time with clients who come in and like, oh, I have a lot of carb cravings. And we start to pack in their breakfast with protein and healthy fat. And we start eating on a regular schedule. And like, oh, like magic, those evening cravings start to dissipate. Okay. So you can do this even on the weekends. Okay. So I want you to take some of these tips that I gave you today. It's really not hard. It's just about slowing down. When you think about your weekends, your vacations, you know, anytime you're going to be not in your normal routine, I want you to think about slowing down first. That means having some time to reflect and plan and think through so that then when you're in your weekend, you can just execute what you decided to plan to do, right? So I also want you after the weekend, after your vacation, after your change of schedule, reflect. How did I do? What went well? What did not go well? What would I do differently next time? And you can use the weekends as practice because this comes up every single solitary week. Okay. And when you do find a win, make sure that you really dwell on that and say, how did I achieve that? How was I able to make such great choices this weekend? Was there a particular thought? Did I have my environment set up? Was it the people that I was around? Like, are they making healthy choices? Do I need to align myself with more people who are on the same journey that I am? Like, understand how you were able to make good choices. Because sometimes we dwell on the not so great choices and we're like, okay, these are the reasons why. But if you're making good choices, you also want to make sure that you understand why and how you were able to make that good choice so that you can repeat that as well. Okay. Is this making sense, y'all? Let me know. I just want to encourage you and to remind you that the Fit Figure formula is open for enrollment right now. If you want to get a registered dietitian in your back pocket, I'm going to teach you how to manage your weekends. These are just a few of the tips that I give to my clients, but I'm also going to help you manage your mindset, manage your lifestyle, and develop healthy habits without feeling restricted. Understand your nutrition and be able to set boundaries and all the things that you're going to need to build a lifestyle and stop dieting. If you want to finally check off weight loss from your to-do list, you should be joining the Fit Figure formula. HSA, FSA. If your place of employment has HSA, FSA, you can use those funds to pay for coaching. There are buy now, pay later options as well. So if you are curious, if you need help, if you need a dietitian in your back pocket, you can message me anytime over the next 16 to 20 weeks. You should join the formula. If you are listening to the podcast, go to the show notes and apply. If you're listening on Facebook or Instagram, go to my profile, click the link to apply. And y'all let me know if y'all have any questions. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see y'all on the next.